Hello guys, welcome back with a new video in which we will take a deep dive into the origins of the DC Comics superhero Looker. Her character arc is a roller coaster of events that constantly keeps her personality in transition and development. A timid figure who started her journey as Mrs. Emily Briggs gets abducted by people from the lost underground colony of Abyssia and returns with an untamable personality, psychic superpowers, and stunning looks. However, the story does not end here, as she is then turned into a vampire, and that brings her an entirely new range of powers that we'll see her utilize as her character unfolds. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Excuse me. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Tragic story of Looker. Her story begins as a modest woman named Mrs. Emily Briggs, who has been often sidelined from her much-deserved success due to her plain looks. The character made its debut appearance in Batman and the Outsiders issue 25, titled A Serpent in Eden, where we find Mrs. Briggs attending a celebratory party for her colleague Jane. Jane got promoted instead of Mrs. Briggs, as her good looks helped advance her case, even though Mrs. Briggs was the deserving candidate for the promotion. The entire situation had Mrs. Briggs feeling low and underappreciated because of the years of hard work that had gone in vain just because of her simple appearance. So, when Mrs. Yamashiro visits her office during the party in order to get a check approved by Mrs. Briggs, the latter can't help but break down, even though their conversation has just begun. Mrs. Briggs, who would eventually embrace her fate as Looker, had always wanted to be more desirable and appealing, as that has been the only way she has witnessed her colleagues advance in the field. We later proceed to discover that she was kidnapped by a group of agents who revealed to her that Emily's paternal grandfather fled from the lost underground civilization of Abyssia while governing it so that he may live on the surface world. Abyssia is the nation of agents that they came from. Therefore, Mrs. Briggs was the next in line for the throne of the nation and was forcefully taken to the lost underground colony of Abyssia. She then experiences a metahuman transformation after getting exposed to the fragmented rays of Halley's Comet that apparently fell over 2,000 years ago. It results in her becoming extremely glamorous, and that totally alters her character. Although the evolution surely did cost her a lot, it also enabled her to attain her much-desired beauty. She was then rescued from her abductors by the Outsiders along with Batman, while her own new abilities and powers also aided the efforts. She then went back home to her husband, Mr. Greg Briggs, who was surprised to witness the tremendous transformation that Emily had gone through, and he started feeling somewhat strange in the relationship. Emily also adopted a new name, i.e. Leah, which was her nickname as a child. Moreover, she became obsessed to a fault with all the things beauty, and that impacted her personality as well as her marriage negatively. With her ever-growing love for grandeur and style, the marriage became significantly unimportant to her, and that resulted in the downfall of the marriage. Marvelous story arc of Looker, the Outsiders. Following her rescue by the Outsiders from Abyssia, Leah went on to join hands with the team and saved them from a group of supervillains called the Monstrous of Disasters. She used her superpowers to provide aid to her former rescuers. Leah enhanced her provocative beauty with a seductive outfit and used blue eyeshadow as a mask in order to entice the mercenary group. She lured them into her trap using her psionic abilities and successfully defeated the team. This led to the victory of Leah, and she freed the Outsiders, who eventually asked her to become a part of the team. She could not turn down the exciting offer and decided to go with the pseudonym Looker, as she became a member of the Outsiders. With this, she became one of the newest active members of the group. She had a fling with her teammate Geoforce, which ended soon after because Looker desired to be with her husband Greg in Gotham City, who had been left shocked by the drastic turn of events in their lives. However, Looker lost all her recently attained superpowers, including mental powers and beauty, after she made a return trip to the nation of Abyssia. Accepting her fate, she resumed her previous life as Emily with her husband as they tried to salvage the marriage. The Outsiders again. Her journey with the Outsiders was still far from over, as she was fated to join forces with a group again. She planned a trip to the nation of Markovia with her husband a few years later, and that coincidentally was the time when the nation was fighting against a group of savage vampires who had ruthlessly attacked Markovia. The vampires were led by a vampire named Roderick. Facing the tumultuous situation, Emily and her husband tried to escape the disaster. She tried getting help from the Outsiders during that chaos and was nearly killed during that time, but fortunately suddenly her superpowers returned and she was now capable of fighting against the vampires. Along with her former teammates, i.e. the Outsiders, Looker continued her fight against the vampires until they defeated him, but she was herself killed by Roderick. With this, she became a daywalker, and Roderick controlled her conscience. She now gained the abilities of vampires while also maintaining her previous acquired powers. Also, she then became Roderick's consort and even went on to fight the Outsiders. However, she eventually remembered her husband and killed Roderick so that she could lead a normal life again. Nonetheless, all her efforts to reunite with her husband went in vain, as Greg had made up his mind to end their marriage and divorce because he was unable to cope with their entirely new lives. Infinite Crisis and Batman. Along with many other superheroes, we again encounter Looker during the Infinite Crisis saga as they unite for a cause. Although it was assumed that the world had lost Looker's majestic powers following her supposed death after it was believed that she became a victim of a deadly explosion prompted by another superhero named Breach, she surprised everyone with her comeback. It was just Batman who never believed that Looker had really died, and when she bounced back into the world, they had a stint together as Looker read the mind of a man whom Batman had brought into his house after the man was found lost in a park. She then alarmed Batman that the man's mind was swapped with that of an alien's. The whole process left her feeling unwell, while the man also ended up dying. She stated that the events were bad omens and something catastrophic was on its way to send Gotham City into another state of chaos and rage. The Outsiders one last time. Another Looker story arc includes her time when she had restarted her work as a model. She continued hunting vampires in Gotham City, and this act enraged the vampires. Consequently, she had to get into a fight with a vampire who was hired to kill Looker. They fought at a disco, and Looker's mightiness forced the vampire to flee the scene. Following Looker's wrath during the fight, the vampire tried killing her former husband, Greg, but Looker was successful in preventing the tragedy, thus providing hints that she might still have feelings for Greg. Regardless, she made up her mind and went back to Markovia, where she united with Geoforce's Outsiders. They unsuccessfully collaborated to fight the hostile alien named Doomsday. Later on, Looker and the Outsiders presumably get killed during an encounter with Lord Deathman. Looker's new origins. Mrs. Emily Leah Briggs became a superhero named Looker after her abduction by a group of agents from Abyssia. She attained great beauty and mental powers with this transformation, and that helped her become a successful model, as well as play her part in situations related to the Outsiders. However, previously a knockout model with remarkable psychic powers, Looker's personality transitioned after she was bit by a vampire. As she turned into a vampire, she had to refrain from many things, including modeling. She required blood to survive, and her modeling career came to an end with this sudden turn of events. Although she had to quit modeling, Looker wanted to stay in the field and utilized her years of experience. Therefore, she launched an eponymous modeling agency, which was predominantly managed by Roma and Charles, two of Looker's closest aides. She was a bloodthirsty vampire whose victims included the ill elements of the society. After two models from her agency went missing, Looker got involved in the case, as it did not appear to be a simple one. The perpetrator of the act was an incubus named Simon Glass. Eventually, Looker was able to save only one of the models from the shackles of death and killed Simon Glass, who revealed in his final moments that he knew the vampire that turned Looker into one of its kind. Looker decided that she would try her best to keep the young upcoming models safe and secure from the filth of the industry. She made her New 52 post-Flashpoint debut as one of the members of the New Outsiders team, after it was assumed that Looker and the rest of the Outsider members were killed by an explosion during their fight against Lord Deathman. We get to know that Looker and others managed to survive, as Metamorpho saved him by using his body as a shield to protect the members from the explosion. Along with other members, she then became part of an alliance known as the Dead Heroes Club, whose other members include Freight Train, The Hood, Wingman, Gaucho, and Batwing, and Halo. The group was a subsidiary of the Batman Incorporated.
Cute costume.
Powers and abilities of Looker. Now let's move on to explore the powers and abilities of Looker, which guide her through her quests. One of Looker's most invaluable superpowers is her psychic abilities. Like her previous self, she became capable of controlling things through her mind as soon as she became a superhero. One example where she demonstrated her skills in mind reading was when she was with Batman during the Infinite Crisis storyline and read the mind of the person whom they found in the park. The person had no idea what had happened to him, so Looker analyzed his thoughts to unearth the situation and and discovered that there was involvement of an alien race. She has frequently been shown reading minds of people to figure out what's unfolding. Along with that, she has the capacity to control animals. Looker could also create illusions, shocks, and mental blocks, as well as communicate mentally, control minds, heal emotionally, etc. Moreover, her superpowers grew exponentially after she became a vampire. In addition to becoming immortal, her senses became highly developed and she could hear better, watch better, and smell better. Her strength and speed heightened as she entered her vampire era, while she also became invincible to almost all sorts of wounds and injuries. She could unleash her deadliest self during fights, as she didn't need to protect herself from weapons because she could easily regenerate as long as she continues consuming human blood. Not just that, she also didn't age ever since she became a vampire and can maintain her appearance as long as she continues feeding on human blood. Moreover, the audience has witnessed her agility and shape-shifting techniques throughout their adventures, transforming into several other life forms such as bats, wolves, etc. She could acquire that particular animal's critical features and incorporate those with her vampire strength to wreak havoc in the enemy's camp. Additionally, she has the ability to transform into mist. She could move and control objects via telekinesis. She could also hypnotize several people in order to get things done her way. Her psionic powers combined with her vampire traits have created a superhuman that is almost invincible, and these powers have assisted her in several of her quests. Vulnerabilities and limitations of Looker. Even though Looker was able to avoid most of the afflictions that torment vampires in general, she could not resist a thirst for human blood, which is the source of strength for all the vampires. Her powers such as strength, agility, speed, heightened senses, capability to regenerate, etc. all depend on her consumption of human blood. In order to combat this weakness, she decided she would only drink the blood of those humans who have proven to be on the bad side. As her career in the modeling industry has made her aware of several monsters that operate their dirty businesses in the field, she keeps a check on their population by frequently killing them and feeding on their human blood. Mind-blowing appearance of Looker in other forms of media. Let's explore Looker's appearances in several other forms of media. She appeared in the second and fourth seasons of television superhero drama series Black Lightning, where she was depicted as an anti-hero who was a white supremacist. She misused her superhero abilities to control the minds of white people of South Freeland and consequently reduced the black population of the place. After her notorious acts got noticed, she was involved in a fight against Black Lightning and Thunder. Looker lost the fight and was transferred to ASA custody. However, she later escaped the ASA custody as she appeared in the fourth season of the show at the time of the Markovians' invasion of Freeland. She was introduced in the third season of the animated superhero television series Young Justice in an episode titled Elder Wisdom. She appeared as the Scottish teenage incarnation of Leah Briggs, who uses her psychic abilities to attack Donna Troy, but then has to face the extraterrestrial superhero Miss Martian. After being defeated, it is revealed that Looker's mind was in fact being controlled and she was not her own self during the scenario. The Young Justice team came to her rescue, and the episode concludes with her supporting the Outsiders. She then joined the Metahuman Youth Center before becoming a part of the Outsiders. Looker's film credits include having appeared as Model Citizen in the animated superhero film Justice League Crisis on Two Earths in 2010. Model Citizen is described as a Looker from an alternate reality who is a part of a supervillain team that is led by the supervillain called Owlman. Some other members of this team include alternate editions of the members of the Outsiders group. Along with her fellow supervillains, she fights the Justice League, but her psychic powers seem to have diminished as she tries her chances to get Flash to join hands with her team. It is Wonder Woman who finally defeats Looker. Marvelous verdict. Mrs. Emily Leah Briggs, aka Looker, has been established as one of the significant superhumans of the DC universe. She gets to play her parts on both sides, but has always managed to return to her original team of superheroes. Even after the events related to Abyssia, she somewhat still has a soft corner that tries to safeguard the upcoming models of her agency from the evil that lurk around the corners of showbiz. She is an intriguing figure who has also assisted the Outsiders in some of their battles to keep Gotham City safe and has played her part in many storylines. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.